Prologue, Sicily, 1943. Oberleutnant Kurt Meyer squinted through his binoculars across the Sicilian dust. The sun beat down on broken olive trees, trucks choked the narrow roads, and the German supply columns crawled like insects. Then he saw them, small, boxy, open vehicles, moving like ants across impossible ground. They jumped from rock to rock, splashed through mud, and vanished in a puff of brown haze. "Was ist das?" he muttered. His sergeant shook his head. Not trucks. Not motorcycles. They were fast, absurdly small, and everywhere at once. The Allies had arrived, and with them, the Jeep. Before the storm. 3 years earlier, no such machine existed. America was at peace. At least officially. But in Europe, steel thundered across Poland and France. Britain was fighting alone. President Franklin D. Roosevelt saw what was coming. In 1940, he stood before Congress and declared, "We must be the arsenal of democracy." But democracy had no wheels. The U.S. Army had trucks for supply lines and motorcycles for messengers, but nothing small, fast, and rugged enough to carry men over broken terrain. Commanders needed something new, something that could move troops, tow guns, haul radios, cross rivers, climb hills, and survive chaos. They wrote the specs on a single-page four-wheel drive, 600-pound payload, 40 horsepower. Under 1,300 pounds total weight. Deliver prototype in 49 days. An impossible order. Only one small company, the Bantam Car Company, Sicily, said yes. The birth of the Jeep. At a tiny workshop in Butler, Pennsylvania, Bantam's engineers worked night and day. They drew the plans by hand, scavenged parts from wherever they could, and built a squat, square little machine that could climb like a goat. When the Army test drivers first saw it, they laughed, until it roared up a muddy hill no truck could touch. The little machine bounced, slid, and kept going. "It looks like a mechanical mule," one officer said. Another grinned. "Then that's what we need. A mule with wheels." The prototype passed every test. The Army wanted thousands, but Bantam was too small. To win the war, America needed scale, so the design was sent to Willys Overland and Ford Motor Company. Both built improved versions. Willys had a powerful Go Devil engine, light, tough, and simple. Ford added production efficiency. Soon, Bantam's dream had turned into a national machine. The Willys MB and its twin, the Ford GPW, were born. America builds a weapon of speed. In Detroit, Toledo, and Dearborn, the factories roared to life. Steel met sweat, and the assembly lines rolled out Jeeps by the thousands. By 1943, one Jeep was leaving a factory gate every 2 minutes. It was not beautiful, but it was perfect. Flat fenders could be used as writing desks. The windshield folded down for better shooting visibility. The seats were simple canvas. The gears could climb walls. Soldiers could take it apart with a wrench, fix it in the field, and keep driving. For the first time, generals and privates drove the same vehicle. No hierarchy, no luxury, just mobility. Every soldier who sat behind its wheel felt the same thing: freedom. Baptism of fire, North Africa. In 1942, the first Jeeps landed in North Africa. The deserts of Tunisia were brutal. Soft sand swallowed trucks, rocky ridges, shredded tires, heat-cooked engines eliminated. Yet the little Jeeps danced across dunes, towing anti-tank guns, carrying medics, chasing enemy convoys, guiding artillery fire. General George S. Patton fell in love with it. He replaced his command car with a Jeep, standing upright in the back seat with binoculars in hand. "This," he said, "is how we'll move faster than they can think." The Germans watched, confused. To them, war was about tanks, armor, and discipline. To the Americans, it was about speed, improvisation, and movement. Logistics became a weapon, and the Jeep was its bullet. The Sicilian Lesson. By July 1943, Sicily became the testing ground for modern warfare. The American invasion force needed to move 250,000 men over mountains and valleys, through dust and heat. Trucks were too large. Motorcycles too fragile. Only the Jeep could do it all. From behind German lines, Kurt Meyer's binoculars told the story. The Allies were everywhere. His reports described small motorized swarms appearing where no roads existed. Supply routes were cut before they could react. Command posts overrun before the orders could even arrive. The Axis armies weren't just losing ground, they were losing time, yeah. The philosophy of simplicity. The Jeep's genius was not power, but it was simplicity. Every bolt was standardized. Parts were interchangeable between Willys and Ford. A soldier in Italy could borrow a part from a Jeep in Egypt, and it would fit perfectly. Where German mechanics worked with precision instruments, Americans used hammers and luck. Where German vehicles needed trained engineers, the Jeep needed a wrench and a grin. It was democracy in metal, practical, adaptable, equal. The contrast was stark. The Germans engineered machines of perfection. The Americans engineered machines of purpose. And purpose in war wins. Normandy and Beyond. June 1944. The beaches of Normandy. Amid the chaos of D-Day, the first jeeps rolled through water and Schlend, carrying medics, officers, and radio operators. Within hours they were inland, connecting beachheads, hauling ammunition, ferrying wounded men back to the ships. They became bridges between chaos and order. By the time Paris was liberated, the Jeep had become part of every army unit. Reconnaissance, infantry, communications, artillery spotting, even frontline assault. It carried generals through planning, nurses through blood, and soldiers through victory. The war machine's heartbeat. Every campaign had its sound, the Jeep's four-cylinder rhythm, steady and unbreakable. In Italy, they climbed stone roads built by the Romans. In the Pacific, they ran through jungles and mud. In Burma, they crossed rivers on bamboo rafts. In Normandy, they dodged sniper fire down the bocage lanes. Wherever a soldier went, the Jeep went too. They carried food, guns, fuel, wounded bodies, pyung, and morale. They became ambulances, tractors, mobile command posts, even chapels. Soldiers joked that the Jeep was God's own chariot. But there was truth in the joke. Without the Jeep, there would have been no movement, no coordination, no victory. The logic of speed. The war was no longer about who fired first. It was about who moved first. German generals planned beautifully, but reacted slowly. Allied commanders improvised, adapted, and stayed ahead. The Jeep was the physical embodiment of that strategy. It wasn't armored, it wasn't armed. But it was everywhere. It allowed a colonel to see the battlefield in real time. It let engineers reach broken bridges within minutes. It turned messengers into mobile command networks. It shrank the map. Eisenhower's verdict. When the war finally ended, General Dwight D. Eisenhower listed the tools that won it: the Jeep, the Dakota, the bazooka, and the atom bomb. The Jeep stood among giants, yet unlike the others, it carried no destruction, only connection. It turned supply into strategy, motion into might. By war's end, nearly 650,000 Jeeps had been built. They rolled through Paris, across Berlin, and into Tokyo. Aftermath: the civilian Jeep. Peace came, and the factories fell silent. But the Jeep didn't die. Farmers bought them for their fields, explorers for their journeys, engineers for their work. The Willys CJ, the civilian Jeep, became a new kind of machine, born from war, made for peace. It tilled the earth it once tore apart. In post-war ads, Willys proudly declared, "The sun never sets on the Willys Jeep." They were right. From South America to Africa to Asia, the little vehicle became a universal tool. What Kurt Meyer saw. Years later, in a letter written from captivity, Kurt Meyer tried to explain what he'd witnessed in Sicily. We had better guns, better tanks, better discipline, but they moved faster. Their small vehicles, I don't even know the name, were everywhere. They turned our maps into nonsense. That unnamed machine was the Jeep. The invisible revolution. Historians often speak of the atomic age, or the jet age, but between them was something quieter, the age of mobility. The Jeep was not a weapon, it was a system. It made the army flexible, modular, fast, the same principles that would later define the modern world, from logistics networks to global corporations. It proved that simplicity scales better than complexity, that speed outperforms strength, and that organization beats power. Symbol of democracy. On the battlefield, generals and privates sat side by side. There was no rank in mud and motion. The Jeep blurred the lines between command and labor, between front and rear. It became the most democratic vehicle in history. It symbolized not hierarchy, but cooperation, not power, but progress. The human element. Every Jeep carried stories, of medics driving through shellfire, of engineers building bridges under bombs, of radio men sending messages from the front seat, of chaplains praying beside the wounded. It wasn't just metal and rubber. It was courage, with wheels. When soldiers came home, they remembered its sound more than the guns, that steady, stubborn rumble. That meant help was coming. The machine that made time. War is measured in moments, the time between decision and action. The Jeep collapsed that distance. It gave generals eyes and ears that could move as fast as thought. It wasn't glamorous like the Spitfire or terrifying like the Panzer, but it changed tempo, and tempo decides everything. When an army moves faster than its enemy can understand, it has already won. The legacy of movement. Today's wars are digital, fought with drones and data, yet the same truth holds. Victory belongs to speed. The Jeep was the ancestor of every mobile force, from humanitarian aid convoys to modern armored reconnaissance units. Its DNA lives on in SUVs, off-roaders, even in philosophy, simplicity over luxury, mobility over stability, execution over planning. Every startup, every military strategist, every disaster responder still follows the same law the Jeep taught the world. Move first, fix later, never stop. Epilogue. Dust and Glory. In an old photograph from 1945, a convoy of Jeeps drives down the Champs-Élysées. Soldiers wave from their open seats. Children chase beside them. Flags ripple above. The war is over, but the dust still rises behind them. A reminder of what movement costs and what it achieves. The Jeep leaves no monument, no marble column. Its legacy lies in every road that was once impossible, every battle turned by speed, every victory earned by motion. It is the sound of an idea made real. That simplicity, courage, and movement can defeat complexity, fear, and inertia. Eisenhower once said, "The Jeep, the greatest contribution to modern warfare." But he might have added, it was also the simplest. Because in the end, wars are not won by weapons. They are won by systems that move faster than chaos. And the little Jeep, born in a factory and tested in the mud, did exactly that. It moved faster than chaos, and so it won the world.